Jensen and NVIDIA presented on their annual GTC, on their big event yesterday, the amazing future that awaits us with this world-leading company in AI, the world's largest company at this point, NVIDIA, the company that powers all the hyperscalers, these giant new data centers that are popping up all over the place, especially in the United States, but all over the place, that run these models that we all love or hate, like OpenAI, ChatGPT, Anthropic, of course, Grok, and all the others. So AI is powered at the core by NVIDIA. We all know that. And once a year at GTC, Jensen, the great, amazing founder, CEO of NVIDIA, presents the future. We have to talk about what actually happened there and what it means for AI, for the world and civilization, and of course for the stock. And I summarized this entire thing into 4 central takeaways. Number 1, I make it very quick so you get the most important pieces of the GTC announcements. Number 1, Vera Rubin platform launch. The next generation of the chips of the central heart of NVIDIA, the AI chip, Vera Rubin GPU, and of course Grok LPU. Rubin is basically the successor of Blackwell, these core AI chips in the large hyperscaler data centers. That is the workhorse of AI for training and for inference. Then NVIDIA, of course, in December bought Grok, not to be confused with Elon Musk's Grok. This is Grok with a Q, which is an inference chip that is incredibly fast and built a little differently. I'm not going to go into the technical details, but this chip is made only for inference. And inference is basically what you are using, what all of us are using mostly, when you type something in chat, or when the models do thinking, right? When you see Grok, Elon's Grok, do thinking, or when any model uses your prompt to actually think through, spin off all the agents that go out and do things. This is all inference, as opposed to training when you ingest the data and actually do back propagation and train these core LLMs. And the more advanced AI gets and the more it spreads in terms of being applied across Earth, the more we need to do inference. That is why NVIDIA bought Grok for $20 billion in December, so a few months ago, and is now presenting how they're integrating this whole thing. So very, very interesting. And here's the takeaway for this first important presentation. Part of the presentation here is what Jensen basically told us. Here is a quick chart. You see here Hopper, the H100, the first generation in that AI race chip, still in use all over the place. Then you see Blackwell, which is the current cutting edge, right? Much, much more productive. You see here throughput in tokens per megawatt. And you see how many, this is basically how many tokens, how much intelligence you can generate per energy input. Very important for a high throughput. And you see how Blackwell turns this into much, much more intelligence, 4 times more powerful than Hopper per watt input. But then Rubin takes it up another 2x over Blackwell. So in total is already 8 times, 800% per electricity input over Hopper in terms of production. So on the vertical line, you see how much more productive these things are in terms of pure energy. Then on the horizontal line, what you see is the interactivity, so tokens per second per user, which tells you how quickly they respond to user input, right? And of course, the more they need to respond, the lower the output is. And actually, Jensen showed that once you combine this with Grok, this goes way to the right and becomes super, super effective. And he explained basically also the business model for all their customers that buy these chips, how to make it all work. So the bottom line here is, let's make it simple for everyone. Doesn't matter all these details. The compute power is going up like crazy. We will see another enormous boost. NVIDIA is doing their bread and butter innovation business and boosting their core effectiveness. Okay? The first takeaway from GTC. NVIDIA is doing their bread and butter innovation. Next chip is coming out. Vera Rubin is completely killing everything. Amazing. Number 2, very important, very surprising. I was surprised by that. You probably heard about NemoClaw, about the great Austrian that was sitting somewhere in Austria. Of course, he was a very seasoned software entrepreneur who built OpenClaw, the thing that took over the world, where you spin off your own agents, can chat with them on Signal or on WhatsApp or any chat system, and they just do everything for you. They build companies, they can read your emails, call people, do bank transactions. It's amazing. It's absolutely crazy. They were then bought, or he was bought by, I think, OpenAI or Anthropic. I forgot. And that, I think, by OpenAI. And he's now joining their team. But NVIDIA got the message, and they developed NemoClaw, reference stack for OpenClaw agent platform. So NemoClaw is NVIDIA's version of OpenClaw. And it's in a reference implementation and security layer for the viral open source OpenClaw agent framework. By the way, OpenClaw is the fastest growing software ever invented. It's absolutely nuts how fast that thing spread across the planet. It's the fastest growing thing that ever happened on the planet. It's crazy. So what NemoClaw does, it takes the OpenClaw situation where anyone can spin off now these AI agents that start forming whatever you want and start doing crazy things for you. And what NVIDIA figured out is there is a security issue. Do you really want to spin off OpenClaw and it goes into your bank accounts and emails all your people and does stuff? Maybe not. But you want it to be productive. So what NVIDIA does, it turned that into an enterprise solution, right? It adds in enterprise-grade privacy routing, security guardrails, policy enforcement, and controlled execution while remaining broadly accessible. So basically, if you're a large SaaS company like Salesforce or like Snowflake, whatever, any of these, maybe GitHub, maybe even Microsoft, who knows, you can now use NemoClaw and feed it with your policies, with your security guardrails, with anything you have ever written up about what people are supposed to do. And NemoClaw can build you this agent system, but with enterprise level security. At least that's what NVIDIA is claiming. I still feel it's a little crazy, but that's what they're focused on, to basically bring the agent networks to enterprise. One command installation that automatically deploys latest Nemotron models and runtime. We will get to Nemotron in a second, what that means. But why is it so important and powerful for NVIDIA? Well, NVIDIA's business, when you think about it, is all about increasing AI adoption, right? Increasing adoption of AI across all companies and all humans. And that means they need to make AI accessible and increase usage of AI. And right now in 2026 and probably all the way to 2027, 2028, maybe, or let's say 2027, no one can predict the future that far, agent systems are the big rage. And why? Because agents do their stuff on their own and they take away work from you. So a lot of people, of course, don't understand all the intricacies of AI. They're just sitting somewhere and say, I want to build a company, but I don't know how. Maybe I make little woven things, pullovers, and I want to sell them because they look very fancy and people love my designs, but I have no clue about anything. Now you can tell your AI agent clouds, like, you know what? I can make these pullovers. I don't know how to produce them in China. I don't know how to sell them. I don't know how to get customers. I don't know how to get a bank loan or venture investments. I don't know how to build a team. I don't know anything. Can you please do everything for me? I just do my pullovers. And then the answer is yes. It's possible now. These things go out. You wake up the next morning and says, okay, here's your VC pitch. I found all the VCs that want to invest in woven pullovers. I found the bank that gives you a credit. They already agreed, because I talked to their agents. I found the Chinese suppliers. We still need another night to negotiate with them, but they can do exactly your things. I also wrote up all the specs. I did everything for you because I'm an agent cloud. And so what does NVIDIA want? NVIDIA wants every company on earth, ideally every consumer too, to build companies and then just hire these AI agents to do whatever they want, because all of that requires you to subscribe to a hyperscaler and use NVIDIA GPUs. So what this shows you is how powerful these agent systems are, how strategically important they are for massive adoption, because agents are not just doing stuff, they're also the interface between this huge new AI world and humans. They basically condense everything down. Imagine agents to be something like Grok or ChatGPT or Anthropic, only much more powerful. Instead of a chat, it's still a chat, but it can do much more. You chat to it and you say, you know what? Can you please do something that makes me rich? I don't even know what. And then it chats with you. Oh, you can do this and that. These are your networks. Can you connect me to your LinkedIn? Can you connect me to your emails? Can you connect me to your bank accounts? Can you do this and that? That's what the agents do. And then you say, sure. And then next morning you wake up, oh, there's $1 million in your bank account. I made it all happen, right? That's the future we are all dreaming of. And that future is now extremely close. And Jensen knows agents are the key to turn these 8 billion humans into real AI users without them having to understand anything, because now they just chat to WhatsApp, to their agents, to a NemoClaw derivatives, and tell whatever they want to NemoClaw derivatives. And then the NemoClaw people go out and use the GPUs. We have to understand how powerful this is. This NemoClaw situation, from a pure business perspective, is basically billions and billions of salespeople for NVIDIA out there, digital little intelligences that go to every human being and every company on the planet and say, what can I do for you today? And then whatever they want, all these billions of humans, these little NemoClaw derivative agents translate it into some form of AI activity. That is why NVIDIA is so obsessed with this new thing, NemoClaw. We can do more shows on that. You can tell me if that's interesting, but I tell you, this is like a hot insight I had when I listened to him. Okay, which leads me to number 3 out of our 4 big takeaways. Number 1 was Vera Rubin. The hardware platform keeps evolving into super duper powerful chips. They're here. They are on track. Number 2, the NemoClaw allows everyone to use agents and to use AI on a massive scale without anyone having to understand anything. Now, maybe you think this is all scary and will kill us all, and you're probably right. But before we all get killed, we make a lot of money with NVIDIA shares. So that's the point of the whole exercise. Now, Nemotron, coalition and free open LLM ecosystem expansion. What is that? Another crazy thing. So here's little Jensen Huang here. He's walking around on stage. And what is this? What are we looking at here? We are looking at their crazy Nemotron. I don't know even what Nemo means, but Nemo is like their favorite little thing. Nemotron ecosystem. You have heard of Anthropic and Grok and OpenAI and maybe of Tesla FSD and Waymo systems. Here you have 5 systems I just named. 5 LLMs, 5 models, not LLMs, 5 different models. 3 LLMs and 2 different models. Tesla FSD and Google Waymo. These are not LLMs. These are different AI models. And what Nemotron is, it's NVIDIA's approach to deploying open source models that they kind of develop. Because AI is not just text. It's also not just video. It's also not just image generation. It can be anything. It can be molecular biology. It can be weather. It can be gaming engines. It can be physics. It can be anything you want to train your models on. But of course, not everyone can build these models and train them. That's why NVIDIA is in the business of providing humans, the entire human economy, all human civilization with all kinds of model types in the Nemotron ecosystem. Not just the humans, by the way, also, you guessed it, NemoClaw. So these models are basically the different types of brains. Maybe you need a molecular biology brain that can do protein folding. Or you need a physics brain that can simulate reality and the physics of reality. Or you need a chemical brain. Or you need a video brain, a Hollywood movie production brain. Or you need maybe certain specialized LLMs that do legal stuff better. Okay? And so that is the ecosystem of Nemotron. All these different LLMs, not LLMs, all the different AI models, including LLMs. See, for example, here, Waymo. Alpha Mayo, this is the FSD model they are deploying. Robo Arena, this is for robots, for humanoid robots. Molmo Spaces, Libero, Physical AI Bench, here's for physics. Physical reasoning from video, right? Here, this model can look at videos and understand the physics behind the video so you can build worlds out of it. You watch a movie and that can generate the physics world of everything in the movie so you can build an entire game around it automatically. AA, conversational dynamics and reasoning, right? This is about chatting with this thing and understanding logics, and so on and so forth. You see all these different things, deep research, intelligence, and so on and so forth. That is the next good thing. Why is this so important? Because NVIDIA's strength, the reason NVIDIA is winning so much against its competitors is CUDA. It's a software ecosystem that NVIDIA has a firm grip on. That's how they beat AMD and everyone so badly, because NVIDIA actually doesn't just create chips. It creates vertically integrated AI factories, but more importantly, it provides the contextual framework around these chips, that is software. And what Jensen is working on here, when you look through these last 2 points I made, NemoClaw and Nemotron, they want to create and deliver the world's first complete AI universe that allows everyone to have agent access to NemoClaw, and then allows all agents to have universal model access to any model you want. For example, if you tell NemoClaw, you know what, I'm clueless, but I'm creative. I have a community of 50,000 people. I like movies. I think I have a great idea to tell a story, but I want a movie. Okay? So I'm telling you the story. I'm actually not even that smart. I don't even have the story. I just think there should be a boy and a girl. They fall in love. They live on a new planet and they're inventing Pioneer Lands 2 or whatever. I don't know much more, but you go out and create a blockbuster and then sell it and put it into movie theaters, right? NemoClaw. I'm out of here. I'm going to sleep. When I wake up, please make sure my blockbuster is all over the place. NemoClaw takes the idea. NemoClaw goes to a language model, goes to an imagination model, comes up with a script, then looks at reference movies, extracts the physics from the reference movies, models out an entire world in physics of this new Pioneer Lands planet, then puts the story into that, then renders the entire movie, then it has the movie, turns it into a pitches it to a bunch of producers, raises a $10 million for marketing, then creates t-shirts, merchandise, and when you wake up in the morning, you are famous. Okay? That's what we are thinking here. And now you understand why these NemoClaw agents need all these different models. These agents can now take your idea, whatever you want. Maybe you want to sell your pullovers. Maybe you want to have a blockbuster. Maybe you want to start a bank or an insurance company. And that thing can actually do it, pitch it, use all these different models. You don't even need to understand anything, but the agents need these models. And then the future is here. Boom. Okay? This is all pretty amazing. When you think about it, that's completely the future. But let's get to point number 4, because we are here at Pioneer Alpha to generate alpha over the market. When you look at this here, this was the only thing that actually moved the stock. When we go in, I tell you, I was watching it live yesterday. You see this $182. And when Jensen said that within a very short amount of time, probably 120 seconds, the stock went from 182 to 185 or 86 even. I remember it. And then crashed back down because people are stupid. But that was the exciting thing. What was he talking about? Surprise, he was talking about. And what Jensen said is that throughout 2027, they're seeing $1 trillion in revenue coming in. Let that sink in. And that's nearly twice as much as they said before or saw for throughout 2026 cumulatively. This is cumulatively, not in 1 year. And so he made a very bold statement here, what he sees incoming in revenue into NVIDIA, which means scaling is just not just continuing, it's going exponential. People buy chips like crazy. And as you can see here, it's hyperscalers. 60% of the entire NVIDIA demand are the hyperscalers. Meta, Google, Amazon, maybe Oracle, and of course Tesla. So hyperscalers are 60%, like a handful of companies are 60% of this entire $1 trillion spend, which is crazy. And then here you have sovereign AI, industrial enterprise, you have all the other people, like countries, companies, and so on, gaming consumers. That is the situation. So what he does best is he marries these two, the visionary technology approach, visionary technology trajectory, executing with Vera Rubin chips, creating these crazy Nemo agent, NemoClaw, and Nemotron universes that secure the domination for the future and the massive adoption and use of AI. And then he delivers trillions of dollars. That's why we love him. I'm actually working right now on diving a little bit deeper into NVIDIA as an investment case, because I'm now pretty strongly invested, not as much as in Tesla, but strongly exposed to NVIDIA, because the way I see NVIDIA, if you look at the stock, this is the most undervalued by an enormous distance, the most undervalued of the Mag 7. It's kind of the opposite end. Tesla is on one extreme with an not insane, but insanely high PE. And then you have NVIDIA with an insanely low PE. The reason being that investors simply can't believe this is all true, even though they're drowning in cash. And what that all means is, when you look at the revenue estimates and consensus, revenue in billions of dollars, 130 last year, this year projected 215. Then 2027, it goes a little bit, this is actually not really accurate here. Here it goes a little bit divergent. In 2027, the most positive high estimates are 444 billion, which is also my estimate here, which I think is still conservative, as we can see in a second. And the lower estimate, 332, and the mid-range, 367, right? So this is a median, these are outliers. And then in 2028, it goes up to 625, and on the lower range, 307. Right, which all doesn't make too much sense. But that's what the analysts are saying. And the interesting thing here is that we are getting to a cumulative amount of 791, even with the higher estimates here. These are preliminary numbers, by the way, but cumulatively 800 billion by 2027. And Jensen just hinted it's going to be $1 trillion. So we are still off by 200 billion throughout 2027. So there is additional upside here, and I think things can even evolve stronger. And of course, the big story, you can see it here. I don't want to preempt too much of this. This is a different video where we talk about space AI, why this S-curve and the slowing of the growth is probably fake news and it will keep accelerating again. That is the interesting strategic question for NVIDIA. But for now, you see why the stock went up, and he talked about the trillion, and why I am very, very bullish on NVIDIA as the lowest risk investment, in my opinion, in the Mag 7. It's the perfect, I wouldn't say hedge to Tesla, but I think it's a perfect complement. Tesla, the most aggressive growth case for the Mag 7, but a lot of things have to happen for Tesla in order to get there. But this is the stock that can multiply the most of the Mag 7. And on the other side of the spectrum, NVIDIA, the most robust, the craziest growth, and the lowest valuation, perfectly complementing Tesla. That is my take on a portfolio perspective. I hope that was interesting and you learned a little bit about the crazy outlook for NVIDIA. One of the most impressive companies of our time, and the defining company besides Tesla as the physical AI company and the other Mag 7s, but the defining company of the age of AGI as it has started now. I hope that was interesting. See you very soon.